All right. Welcome back. It's the daily close with the normal four lads here, ready to give some good alpha on some, what the price movements are going, some price action, technical analysis on some core coins that you can follow to understand what's happening in the market and where you might be able to make some money. But be forewarned, this is not financial advice. So, what if we, shill here? Please make sure you do your own research before you commit any money into the space. But of course, like we say in all of our videos, if you can continue to, like our videos, you can also give us a comment. Please definitely subscribe and hit that bell notification so you're one of the first people to know. And we'll keep paying back with more videos and more engagement to you and more love. But without further ado, let's get right back or get right into the good part here. Let's start off with knxqtr with BTC.
Hey. Okay, BTC time.
Back at it again.
Let me share my screen. Okay. Is this the right screen?
Yeah.
Sorry, I've only done this 100 times. Okay, cool. So we're on the BTC chart here. Let's do the usual. Go through different time frames. Give you guys my thoughts on what's happening. Maybe give you some educational information about different indicators and so on and so forth. So let's start off with the daily. The daily is one of my favorite time frames. Actually, I like to trade on the daily and the 4 hour. But on the daily time frame, I've kind of highlighted it's a little range here already. You can see that's marked by the green horizontal lines. I would say the candles that worked above, came straight back into the range, and I would call that a deviation. So this is sort of like a deviation here, and this is the deviation here. I can talk for quite a bit about how to identify deviations and that sort of thing, because I know some people might be wondering how do you identify these, but I can go through that in a different video. It would take too long in this one. So just know that I think these are deviations on the daily. Pops out with range and then comes straight back in on the next candle. I already have my EMAs, my moving averages on here. I think Bitcoin is looking, I think it's looking pretty neutral right now on the daily time frame, at least. As long as we're in this range. Give me 1 second. I can't actually see the side of my screen. Okay, now I can see it. As long as we're between 63,700, let's call it, and about 60,000 flat, we're just trading in the range, really. Unless we break out of this range in either direction, I don't see us making any new lows or any new highs anytime soon. So keep an eye out for that on the daily. Having said that, we are in a general uptrend on the daily. After this massive dump, we have set in, let me just mark these off, a low here, a high, a higher low, and we are at the moment, we have made a high. We are just consolidating a little bit here. You can call this sort of like a higher low if you are being technical. And then what you expect from this would be just be a high. The trend is your friend until the end, as they say. Let me delete these real quick. Let me check out the Bollinger Bands. Yeah, Bollinger Bands are saying, nothing happening anytime soon. It's pretty neutral. It's in the middle of the range. What you want to see with these Bollinger Bands is the candles coming down past the actual, either the top or the bottom Bollinger Band. And that signals and that identifies that there is volatility and there is a strong trend in motion. So nothing to see in the daily. What else can we see here? So the RSI playing out some hidden bullish divergence, which is nice. Rejection of the neutral zone, which is also a bullish signal. I'd like to see us get back into the bullish control zone, which is this blue highlighted area here, and above the moving average on the RSI. But so far, it's playing out some hidden bullish divergence. So I expect a test of the upper boundary of this range, which is around 33. Let's call it around 63,500. Volatility is on the floor, so I do expect a move to come in sometime soon. As you can see, every time we've been this low, and we are currently in the single digits. I think we're currently around 1.5% volatility. After this move up, you can see that we've come down. Volatility is now very, very low. I would expect a move sometime to come, maybe within the next week or so. So do keep an eye out on that. You can see every time we've moved off of this sort of level around 1-2% volatility, we have made some volatile moves. We can just take a quick measure of that now. So from here, 10% move. It's not bad. Again, down here when volatility was, this was a bit bigger, so 44% move. Very, very nice. And you know, if we just take some targets, let's say 15%, actually let's be a bit more accurate. Let's do a 12% move. That would take us to about 70,000 USD. If we have a 45 or 44% move, similar to that, that would take us to about 89,000 US dollars. So, you know, very nice figures. If you are a bull, we can actually, one last thing that I want to do on the daily before moving on to different time frames is just, you know, draw out some of these fibs. I do like fibs. I have been using them a lot more recently. So let's draw a fib. What you can actually do, and I learned this from, shout out to Crown's Crypto Cave, or it's called Eric Crown's Crypto. I watch you religiously. You're a great trader. I've learned a lot from you myself. You can take the fib of the actual range, and you know, this will give us some interesting targets. And as you can actually see, it might be a little bit difficult to see because the colors are blurring into the background, but one of the biggest areas, or one of the biggest areas of interest on a fib when you're, you know, looking for an upside movement is the 1.618, and I've just drawn this fib from this range that I have here. And you can see that the previous all-time high closed at exactly the 1.618. So the next time we move up, we can expect this area to be strong resistance. We might not break it the first time, but if we do, I expect us to move towards these levels. Let's just mark off these levels here. I think like the 4 is usually a pretty strong one. But the 1.618 and the 2.618 are usually the biggest areas of interest. And what do you know? The 2.618 is around about the $70,000 level. Same thing we saw when I drew that price increase of around 14%. The same thing we saw last time. The area of interest is very, there's a lot of confluence there. So yeah, $70,000, give or take a couple of $1,000. You know, what's a couple of $1,000 amongst friends? Yeah, around about that level is probably the next target on a daily time frame that we can look at. I am a little bit conscious of time here, so I'm going to whiz through everything else. Let's go down to a 4-hour. 4-hour, again, you know, this is just consolidation here. I mean, the range that I drew is still intact. You know, as long as we're between 60,000 and well, on the 4-hourly, it's a little bit higher, 64,300. Any 4-hour closure above this level, you know, I'd look for moves back up to all-time highs, about 60, 67 before moving up to 70. On a daily closure, however, that is a little bit lower at $63,300. Yeah, not too much difference on the 4-hour, but we are still in a sort of market. I mean, consolidation up at a high level is always a good thing. Volatility is coming up. We have, you know, rejection of the bearish control zone here on the 4-hour, moving past the neutral zone. Nice, looks like it's going to head into the bullish control zone soon. There's a new indicator that I've been testing out. I won't go through it today, but essentially, if you just look at the orange and the blue lines, that is just the usual typical stock RSI. You know, maybe a little bit of downside from here, a little bit more consolidation. I just expect us to play within this range until we don't. So if you see a breakout of the range, that's when you want to look at volume confirmation, volatility confirmation. But right now, yeah, not too interesting at the moment. And then maybe not the 1 hour, maybe we can do the weekly, because I think the 1 hour and the 4 hour is pretty similar. But what do we see on the weekly? We see new all-time highs. Very, very bullish. You know, I don't think I could be bearish on a chart like this. You know, there a lot of people calling for Bitcoin to go to, you know, 20K, 25K down here. I myself, I think I mentioned in the video that, you know, we weren't going to see that, and it was more likely that we're going to break up to the upside. We are trading above all moving averages on the weekly, which is great. Not quite closing above the Bollinger Band here, but we are still trending upwards. The top of that range is about 66,000. What else? Volatility coming down a little bit. Volume coming down as well. Maybe a medium pullback, medium-term pullback before we then go and run for new all-time highs. But this is, I mean, this is good here. We break out of new all-time highs on October 11th. We come back down, we wick down below the previous all-time high, test this level, held it, looks very good. I expect further upside on the longer-term timeframes. So Bitcoin overall high timeframes look very, very bullish. Low timeframes, the daily and the 4 hour, probably more consolidation, and maybe a bit of a breakout soon, because we are seeing BBWP get to those sort of levels that we did see before. But that's it for me. That's BTC. I think ETH is next.
Yeah. Awesome analysis there. Awesome analysis. All right. Let's go just try to dive straight into Ethereum. So starting from the weekly time frame, we're looking pretty bullish. And in terms of the actual trend, we have a low here, high here, higher low, and we've already, you know, basically went above the previous all-time high. So that's very good. And I don't see any, I do not see anything bearish about this chart. But if, you know, if we were to basically look at previous all-time high as a potential, probably the previous, which would become the next support, if anything. But again, I don't see anything bearish about this. The trajectory is postulating upward. The stochastics as well is okay. It is pretty much nearing the top end of the almost 100% of the overbought area. So, but you know, I think we probably have a few more. We can probably push out a few more weeks on this actually. And I say that because the volatility is actually still in the expanded area. We haven't contracted yet. We're pointing upwards on about 70%. So honestly, Ethereum, I know people are saying Ethereum might do another pullback in the next few days or so, but at least on the weekly time frame, it's very bullish. The RSI as well, we're in the and we've entered the bullish control zone, trading above the moving average here. So yeah, I think it's very good. The only, I mean, even if we do get a pullback on the weekly, as long as we're above we're probably going to use the previous all-time high 3940 as a previous support. But if we break that, then that's okay. I don't think it'll be bearish until we actually get down to about 3,000 and then close anything below previous low. So it's looking very bullish. And if we move to the daily here, yeah, volatility is actually contracted around the very low end at the moment, which is to say we'll probably continue this trend. There won't be any sort of drastic move in any direction. Stochastics is on the overbought area, but this is actually pretty normal for a bull run. So it's nothing alarming here. We probably won't see it come back down. It's both postulating upward, and again, trend is there. Let's just look at something else in terms of, well, that's the daily. PV sequential. Yeah, I mean, the thing with this is it's not actually making any deep retracements. The pullbacks that, well, within the actual daily candles, it's trading with, I'm looking at this candle, it's trading probably a range of 43, almost 4,400 to down about 3,500. So, I mean, that's a massive range. And I would not, I mean, you wouldn't, let me just move this out so you can see better, but I wouldn't consider this as any type of lower low, or even a higher low being created yet. It's just sort of going straight up. So I think the next thing to look out for is when there will be a reversal, short-term reversal, and we form some kind of higher low somewhere. But to be honest, I don't see that coming anytime soon, just based on the weekly and the daily so far. And yeah. Volume is slowly losing steam as we are trading less than the actual average. But again, you know, we get random sort of spikes in volume every now and then, and so that's something that sometimes you don't actually can predict. And in terms of the actual volume profile here, we're trading at the top end with the lower nodes, and it looks like there's like pretty much no historical activity. I think there's potential for us to keep going upward. I'm going to draw a fib here, and hold on, let me actually draw it on the 2-day of the previous swing high, swing low, which just happened back here. And if we look at the actual levels that KNX talked about as well, we have the 1.618 up here, about 4,883. So we'll look at that probably as a next target to take profit. If anything, we may see a rejection there, probably go back down to either the 1 or 1.2. And then the 2.618 is up until 6,200. Wow. So I could see us, if we break past 1.618, we can potentially see a move to about 200 in the short term. And that would give us a lot of breathing room if we want, to move legs up above. I think the prediction for ETH is basically between 20K to 40K by the end of the bull run. So this target of 6,200 is not impossible. Definitely very feasible. We'll go down to the 4-hour time frame real quickly, and yeah, I mean, this is nothing too bearish at all. We are pointing upwards with volatility, and it's expanding, which is a positive sign. Where did my volume go? There we go. I don't see any massive difference in terms of volume. Yeah, we're kind of decreasing below the average here, but at the same time, our stokes are pointing upward. So, and we are even on the 4-hour, we're just about getting into the bullish control zone here. So, so long as we don't have any, any bearish divergences, which we haven't had for a while now, actually since November 3rd, we're not seeing us lose momentum here, which is very, very good. Very good. And I think the last thing I want to maybe show is I like to, whenever I actually trade ETH, I'd like to just kind of do more of a short-term trade. So I'll set up my charts like this, where I can actually see things on different time frames. And basically, at least if you're doing this on a short term, I would look at trading on the 45 or the 10 minute. And right now, the 10-minute, we're almost topped out here on the overbought area. So we'll probably, at least in the short term, come down to at least, we'll stay above about 4,500. So if you're looking for a short-term trend, you see this video early enough. I don't think we will, the 4,500 is basically one of the previous highs up here. So we'll probably maintain the support line. If you do break it, as long as you don't trade anything below 45.20, sorry, this is 45.80, 45.20, then we should be fine with maintaining this level. And again, even on the 45-minute, it's a bullish trajectory. I wouldn't call this even a low. So sort of just one shot straight up. And yeah, I think we have let's go back down to here. I mean, we're consolidating a bit back here and ranging, but then we make a higher high here, higher low, higher high, higher low. And if we break past the 4600, 4672, then we should be making another higher high. And again, I'd predict us to make another higher low. And I kind of talked about the invalidation points earlier, so I won't mention that again on the short-term timeframes. But ETH is looking very bullish. I'd say it's looking much more bullish in BTC. And ETH is leading the altcoin market. So keep an eye out for ETH. Yeah, that's my analysis for this. Thank you. Who's next?
I think that's over to GOJO now, right? GOJO, you're up, and then I'll be right after you.
Sure. Today I want to talk a little bit about Avalanche. So just give me a sec.
Ooh, Avalanche.
Yeah.
Just made an all-time high.
It's a crowd favorite.
It did. Okay, so hold on. Here we go. Want to make it simple, focus on 4 things: momentum, trend, volume, volatility. I think with this, well, would you call that a quadfecta? I guess it's not a trifecta. With this quadfecta, you can get generally a good idea of what you can expect for the charts in the coming both short and midterm. I'm going to start with the daily here. Obviously, what you can see here with this low is that we created a higher high, higher low, now with a higher high here. One thing I want to start off with actually is maybe looking at the volatility indicator with our BBWP. Generally, what you can kind of look at here on the daily is that we are now going upward. So one thing that I want to look at with this kind of chart is, sorry, with this indicator is the slope. And if we are sloping upward, we are still technically within the consolidation zone. Until we break past that neutral point, we're going to be pretty much in a contraction phase. But since we are moving upward, what this tells us is that there's probably a bias towards an expansion coming soon. With this all-time high, what's surprising is that we've actually continued upward despite breaking it. So we've not actually even used this as support yet. So very, very positive for us to see. One thing that I am mindful of is on the daily, at least, is with any kind of big movement, I do want to see a little bit more volume. We're still volume-wise under our moving average here. For this to be a really convincing move up, I think we need just a little bit more volume, at least on the daily. Last thing I want to look at here, because we are on a trending move, typically I want to use Bollinger Bands to kind of measure some volatility, but Bollinger Bands typically are just more effective when we're in consolidation phase. So I don't think it's worthwhile looking at that. I also look at VPVR as another indicator of volume, but because we've just broken all-time high, we're in a very low node here, meaning there's not a lot of historical information, not a lot of activity to tell us whether or not we're going to snap back. But if we do, the next big node that we see here is at about what, $67, sorry, $65. But for now, it's very difficult to still say whether we'd be dropping down this low. For a bigger view, I'm just going to pull back out into the weekly, where we see, at least with the Stokes as my measurement for momentum, we've just crossed and we're now going upward. We're still not in overbought territory, but if we go toward that overbought territory, one thing we can expect are some pullbacks that can certainly happen. But again, whether or not we move upward or continue to move upward this week, we'll just have to keep an eye out for that. Sorry, I actually didn't talk about that here on the daily. We actually are just now breaking this overbought territory here. Again, not necessarily, I know a lot of people say that this is a bull indicator if we're up here. But for now, what the price action is telling us is the exact opposite. So let's just keep an eye out for that for now. I haven't talked about trend, so I'm going to talk about this with my moving averages here. Very easy to read. We kind of use this 21-day moving average as support since the end of October, and we've really moved out of it. So what this is telling us now is on a daily, at least, trend is upward, momentum is good, volume a little bit weak, volatility going upward, but still within this contracted phase. If we see any kind of movement up into the neutral area and then into this sort of expanded area, we might see a little bit more of a move upward. So if we were to say, are we moving up? Are we moving down? This volatility indicator in the BBWP will not tell you that. You kind of have to match it with a trend indicator to make any kind of real call. I'm going to move into some lower timeframes here where we do see a little bit of difference. Actually, what we see here is a lot of volume, at least in the last couple of hours from the beginning of the day. We're above the moving average here. Sorry, we're above the moving average. Yep, we're also above the 21-day moving average. We are just above the overbought territory on the stock RSI, and we are moving upward. At least the BBWP is moving upward. It's crossed downward from the moving average. So one thing we can see is perhaps we might be nearing a little bit more of a contraction phase if this continues to move in the direction that it is moving. One thing I do want to note here, at least, is with the VPVR, look how it sits nicely on this node. What we know is when price sits in one of these nodes, there is just a tendency for us to want to stay here. So as long as we stay around this area with this, and what this is telling me is we're probably leading into some consolidation, we might be staying at around this price for a little bit. Yeah, I want to keep this, I don't want to take too long on this one, mindful of plebs time, so I will end this here. But overall, Avalanche, if you just look at this, there is nothing bearish about this chart at all. I mean, come on. So definitely some good times ahead. No real concerns, again, other than the short time frames, maybe experiencing some consolidation, some pullback in price on the daily. Otherwise, it's lots of green ahead for what I can see. That's it for me.
What's up? What's up? Avalanche is always it's a good one. It's we always do it for the culture, so it's good. But let me jump on here. I just chose mine out of a stack of performing coins, and today I'll be covering over Helium. And today I think it's been gaining about, yeah, actually, well, it got as high as like 32 or more percent, but now it's coming back down to around 18% for HNT, Helium to Tether US on Binance. But no, this seems like a pretty interesting price action here, so I think I might cover it. But I mean, as you can see here, I mean, it's just overwhelmingly bullish right now. I mean, this is on the weekly time frame here, but yeah, I mean, let me just put onto the as my favored Ichimoku cloud here as well. I mean, we crossed above my base, which is the white, and the blue, which is my conversion. We crossed above that, and we're going almost straight vertical quite recently. So that's obviously a bullish sign. Our volume is overwhelmingly bullish, as well as over the average as well. Let's go ahead and see. Try to keep these indicators on one at a time if possible, so you don't crowd the space. But also the Bollinger Band looks good. Been trading over the 20-day moving average since August 9th. So I mean, Helium's really been taking off for a while, and I think for anybody who's caught on to, I just kind of drew these resistance and support and resistance. If anyone were following along with this and happened to buy somewhere in this area, I think you'd be very, very pleased with the gains you would have made, because even down here, we'd be currently sitting at about almost 2 times, almost 250 up, 250% up too. So that's definitely a good show. Let's see here. Jump on here with CT as well. This one here, I mean, well, it's kind of hard to see it on this long time frame here, just because it hasn't this project's only been out since I think it's April 2020, then gone to Binance September 2020. So it's not that long enough to show everything here, but obviously we're trading above the metrics, main metrics here, so that's promising. So let's move it down so we have a little bit more data to work with here. Let's try the daily. Oh my goodness. There we go. Okay. Same story here. We are seeing, I think I have my percentage on, that's why my chart's a little bit crazy. But so RSI, yeah, I mean we're just that's trying to go off of the chart in terms of the RSI. So definitely we're a little bit well, not over a little bit, but quite overbought. Our volume is absolutely supporting it right now. Look at that. That is the only time that happened, that much volume was back in May 2021. I think that was right before the crash in May. So was that in May? Yeah. So I think people obviously got burned in that route. But at least for yeah, still same story we're seeing here. We finally broke out this channel where we were consolidating, and we are absolutely making insane gains. I feel like not much more I go. Well, actually, let's see if I can put on some fib. Geez, I mean that's the actually let's try something better than that. Yeah, no, the fibs. It's kind of hard to work on a chart like this when it's just absolutely, absolutely vertical here. Good low, maybe the high. Go the opposite away here. I mean, yeah, okay. Well, I mean, it looks hard to read that, boys. This is fully, fully bullish. At least on the daily here. Let me roll it down to the 4 hours, see if we get a little bit more. And I think with the 4 hour now, we start seeing what all of you probably should have been guessing at this point is the start of a creeping pullback. Because this one I think might be playing a little bit of the Icarus here with flying a little bit too close to the sun. RSI shows the bounce. The volume we're having sell pressure jumping in right now. I would say, yeah. I mean, the next support is going to honestly fall background here, if any support at all, because there's no other, space, no other data up here that supports this amount of price action. So if anyone's thinking about jumping in this area, I would, sorry, let me just fix that again. I would strongly consider, if you're going to buy in, maybe to wait to see a few more confirmations, because there's a very good chance it could pump down another 10% within the next 4 to 8 hours. Let's see what we I want to see what it looked like on the 1 hour as well. Yeah, here we go. And this is where we have a little bit of the resistance that stopped us out here. So actually in the next 4 minutes, we're going to find out exactly how far this actually might go. But I think this actually, we look at the highest time frame. Looks absolutely beautiful. Look at the lowest time frame. We start seeing a picture of where coins start flying up, and it's probably a good lesson not to jump in too fast or too early, thinking you can ride the winds when it might very well be over for the short term. Before once it corrects, you might be able to jump back up. But if I were to make any kind of prediction at this point in time, if there's any show that's seen here on the 1 hour of this being beaten back down, I would expect another retrace, possibly not retrace, but I guess it's gonna pull back down. Maybe we can go from our current price of 47. We could come as low as 41, perhaps, or if we're unlucky, closer down to 38. And then you need to watch for a few more confirmations to see how it goes, because after this, it's 34, maybe 31, and 23 at that point. But that'll be a free fall. So let's hope we don't fall onto that path. But other than that, I mean, any other kind of metrics I typically put up, Ichimoku Cloud still says we're looking pretty bullish, still in the green zone. So that's not too much more concern to show. I mean, this is a Bollinger Bands, still on the upper side, but that's quite normal for a bounce around this area. So yeah, maybe around, hopefully we stay above our 20-day moving average. That would be nice. And there's no crossover death cross here. So for everyone those who knows about, a shorter time frame crossing over the larger time frames of the 200 SMA or EMA, we haven't had a cross like that. So Even if we correct down a little bit, don't panic just yet. But I think that's a quick rundown on Helium. This is quite a long time frame, straight to the moon. Short time frame, we see a little bit of rough waters coming up. But if you play it right, you might be able to find your next entry, buy in, and see if you can continue to ride this wave up. But I think that's my part on Helium. So, all right, that's 4 good projects there. I mean, we have BTC, Ethereum, Avalanche, and Helium. For a quick TA, I hope you can get as much alpha out of this as humanly possible. Please, as always, like, subscribe, definitely give us a comment. Tell us about projects that we can cover on your behalf. We can talk about. We'd love to hear your thoughts. We sure our crowd also has alpha too, and we love to hear it. Hit that bell notification so you can be the first to see your videos come up next. But this is another one on the daily close. From the 4 lads here, we say, may the pump be forever with you in perpetuity.
Thank you, pleb.
Thank you very much. May the pump be with you.